Benchmark, the voice of business. Presented by LMD.
On this edition of Benchmark, Sri Lanka's tourism industry is the topic under discussion today, and we've invited Reyhan Morris, a director and CEO of Asia Leisure, to give us his take on a number of issues. Then, Shiran Fernando, economic analyst and product head of Frontier Research, outlines key concerns for the biz community about the government's budget proposals. And Mihirani Disanayaga, country manager of TNS Lanka, wraps up the show with an analysis of TNS's latest nationwide survey. That's the lineup for Benchmark.
Hello and welcome to the Big Picture Business Program Benchmark. I'm Savitri Rodrigo. Sri Lanka's lucrative tourist industry is a much debated topic, whether it's the quality of tourists we entice or whether the service levels we offer are adequate to what we ask or what we give our tourists. So, to put things in perspective, we have with us in our studio today the CEO and Director of Asia Leisure, Reyhan Morris. Reyhan, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Savitri. Thanks for having me. Pleasure being here.
Much debated topic, tourism. How do you view the tourism industry in Sri Lanka at this point?
As a stakeholder in the industry, we're at a very positive stage. Of course, as everyone's read or you've seen, we've had good growth since 2009. In my opinion, most of the growth has been organic because of the end of the war and the peace in the country. But now I think we're at a very important stage. Right now, we need to find out exactly what Sri Lanka tourism is all about, and we need to tell the rest of the world what Sri Lankan brand promise is, and figure out our direction in the near future.
You know, Sri Lanka's tourism industry is very resilient. It managed through 30 years of war. However, our regional competitors grew. Now, when you look at the service levels, for instance, that's offered by our local hotels, how do we compare to our regional counterparts?
Our immediate neighbors, say Maldives and India, I say unfortunately they're at a higher level of service standard than where we are right now. That is where we need to be. Also, we look in the region of Thailand, Vietnam, where you actually get better bang for your buck, so to speak, or value for money. So we're not doing too badly, but we need to focus a little bit more on what value we offer for our guests or for our tourists that come into Sri Lanka. We have some very good products, and I think we're in the right sphere and the right stage of taking it to the next level. With the global brands coming in the near future, I think we're in good stead.
From a service perspective, what are the areas that you think need improvement at this point of time?
Okay, I think mainly from the soft skills part of we need to teach, we need to train our staff to be better communicators, to understand what guest requirements are. We need to give them a little bit more empowerment to solve problems on their own. And also it will be nice if we could teach them a little bit more, a few more languages, be it Chinese or French or German, so that will help us understand what our tourists require.
Reyhan, are there any particular countries or regions that Sri Lanka can use to benchmark our service levels upon, say?
I think Maldives are immediate neighbors. I understand that the product is different. The average rates in Maldives to Sri Lanka are very different.
But you realize that 75% of those in the resorts are all Sri Lankans anyway.
Correct, and we need them to come back also. Yeah, exactly. I think the global brands being present in the Maldives has actually helped for us to pick up our service levels. And I believe in the near future, with the global brands coming into Colombo and the rest of Sri Lanka, it will help us improve our service levels.
You know, there's been a lot of debate that Sri Lanka should focus on a particular type of tourist instead of just opening out and welcoming everyone. Do you believe that Sri Lanka should actually focus on attracting a particular type of tourist or from a particular region, or how does it work?
I'm in agreement with actually opening out to everyone. Why? Because we have diverse products in the country. Be it a backpacker who wants to backpack throughout the country for 7 nights, we've got so much history, so much culture that they could just walk through themselves and experience on their own. And be it a tourist with a high disposable income who'd like to have and come and experience a luxury beach product or something up in the mountains, we could offer that too. So I believe in not just offering Sri Lanka to one particular segment. I think we should be open to all segments.
Also, Reyhan, working on convention, the tourism industry has traditionally always focused on peak times, November to April, and then sort of let it all go for the rest of the year. What do you think about actually selling our country all year round?
Savitri, I think that's definitely the way forward. Traditionally, we've been very reliant on European tourists only. Could be for various reasons, could be the travel trends over the years globally. So the global trend is also now changing. The shift to Asia, or the Asian traveler is also a big part of the global travel trend, and everyone's taking the Asian traveler very seriously, be it Chinese, Korean, Indian, or even Australian. So for us, we should obviously still not let go of the European clients that we've had over the years, but we should definitely focus on promoting what we have for the rest of the year towards those markets that I mentioned before. Particularly the Chinese holidays are at a different time of the year to the Europeans, and they seem to be wanting to travel. They're one of the biggest travelers in the world right now. Even the Australian winter is during our off-peak months, and it's still warm in Sri Lanka, so there's no reason why we should not promote Sri Lanka to Australia. And it's not very difficult because of the cricket. It definitely helps promote the country. So I'm all for year-round tourism, and I'm all for all markets and all segments of tourism into Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka has some unique attributes, but again, conventionally, we've been selling our nature, we've been selling history, we've been selling beaches. Food, for instance, the multiculturalism we have, we don't seem to be taking that on and selling those. What do we need to do, besides not adequately showcasing it? What can we do?
I think, as I said in the beginning, we're at a very interesting stage. We need to figure out what our brand promise is. Sri Lanka as a whole. Like you very correctly said, we have had the conventional attributes like, say, Sigiriya or a little bit of, not a little bit, a lot of history, etc., and the beaches and the sun. But the traveler is also changing. The travelers are now after something a little bit more experiential. Experiential tourism is a growing trend. So we've got so much we can offer. We've got the tea, for example. So if we could come up with an experience where tourists get to actually go and pluck tea, be involved in the making of tea, and then take that pack of tea with them home. So tea is just one example. Then obviously we've got fishing, we've got our the paddy harvesting season. If we can come up with products and experiences that people can take home with them and experience, the local cultures, the local villages, culinary gifts that we have, I think that is a gem that we have that we actually haven't explored. It's more an uncut gem that we've got that we haven't explored.
Well, that's certainly doable.
Definitely doable. Definitely doable. I think we need a little bit of a change in our mindset as well as to, what type of product we need to promote in Sri Lanka.
So we're taking a short break and get back to that discussion. Time for some messages from our sponsors. When we return, Reyhan Morris discusses infrastructure development as well as skills development in our local tourism trade. Stay with us.
When we entered the industry in 1995, a new star was born as a fully owned subsidiary of People's Bank. For those seeking to grow their businesses, PLC provided the seed. We are not only Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company, but also the largest non-banking financial institution. Welcome to a new dawn for the nation. Introducing People's Leasing and Finance, PLC.
We can show you a world, shining, shimmering, splendid, amazing, beautiful, dazzling, wondrous place for you and me. A whole new world, the future's got a whole new world for you.
The most advanced technology now on multiple smart devices for total convenience. Welcome to H&B New World Banking.
Thank you for staying with Benchmark. We're speaking with Reyhan Morris, the CEO and a director of Asia Leisure. And Reyhan, where infrastructure development is concerned for the tourism trade, is it happening at a satisfactory pace?
I think as a stakeholder in the private sector, we would like it to happen a little bit faster. But in all fairness, we've had infrastructure development. So, like I said, we'd like to see it happen a little bit faster and probably a more strategic approach as to how the infrastructure is developed and being shared with us. And also maybe a little bit of input from the private sector into to the government as to how we should go about building our infrastructure would be a more better approach to take things forward.
In that scenario, is there sufficient interaction between the private sector and the public and the government on what needs to be done?
I think, in my opinion, it could get better. I would say it does exist, but it could get better, and I think all stakeholders, be it a SME or small to medium enterprise or a large stakeholder in the tourism industry, everyone's voice should be taken into account before infrastructure development is put into place. Because as we know in the tourism sector, small to medium enterprises play a big role, be it a small tour operator or a small hotel by the beach. They also play a big role in the entire picture of tourism for Sri Lanka.
Then again, are they being given enough recognition?
Good question. I think recognition is something that you need to work towards yourself. You need to kind of be out there, dare to be a little bit different, and work for it. But I believe the government or authorities do give enough support where required.
In terms of human resources in the hospitality trade, what skills do you think, I know you did say soft skills, but besides that, are there any other areas within the industry that really need to be looked at and improved on?
I think we have some good chefs, for example. We've got very good talent when it comes to culinary. If there's an area that I personally think that we could improve is actually building the leaders of the industry for the future. Building thinkers who think outside the box, and giving them encouragement and empowerment to go out and take a few risks and do something different to help Sri Lanka tourism. I think that is where if we could have a little bit more focus on that would be better.
So hotels and resorts are coming up, quite a few of them in fact, and the rooms are being added to. How are we coping with human resources for those?
I think right now we're just coping, but I think the bubble's going to burst very soon. However, what I predict we will see is with the global brands coming in the very near future, they will bring in their own training resources, which will benefit our local talent. And they will also bring in their own human resources or their own talent that they have globally to train our staff. They will come and train our staff to the level required by them. And this in effect will help us or Sri Lanka, because we are going to be trained by some of the best hotel brands in the world. Right now we actually don't have enough talent coming through the training centers and the hotel schools that we have for the demand that is required. So we will have to depend on these global brands to come in and make a difference.
Are young people interested in the trade?
Not personally. I think it could be better. We need to make the trade a cool trade to work in. It is a cool trade to work in, but I think it's lost its glamour over the past couple of decades. It was a very glamorous industry in Sri Lanka not long ago, maybe in the 80s and early 90s, but it's lost its glamour over time. And I think we need to bring it back. Like I mentioned before, most of our best talent in the country is out of the country for the hospitality industry, either in the Maldives or in Dubai or anywhere else in the world. So we need to bring them back, and I think bringing them back would definitely help bring the glamour back into the industry.
How are we progressing in marketing Sri Lanka as a destination?
I think we've progressed okay in the last few years. We definitely need to have a strategic marketing plan, not set in cement where we're not flexible enough to change as we go. We need to market Sri Lanka in a way once we figure out what Sri Lankan brand promise is all about. And we need to be up with the marketing trends, and we also need to be up with technology. I think technology is changing the way destinations are marketed as well. People decide on their holidays, I think now not sitting at home and having a meeting with the families. I think now they decide it whilst traveling home in the train or just on a weekend whilst they have some spare time, and they probably make the decision over a mobile on their mobile phone or iPad. So we need to make sure that we are seen at every level possible, not just in billboards or taxis or anything. The traditional norms of marketing needs to be relooked at.
So social media needs to be emphasized more?
Social media and mobile marketing, not just social media. We could take a direct marketing approach, but we need to be more focus a little bit more on the mobile marketing. Yeah.
What's the future outlook, in your opinion, for the tourism industry?
Outlook is positive. Outlook is always positive, and I think we're in a good stage right now. And yeah, I've always said personally, there's 5 things that need to be in place for good tourism. One is good political stability, which I think we're in a good situation right now. We have a diverse offering in the country, so we're very fortunate to have that. Then we have overall security in the country has been good since 2009. And we've had hardly any issues with tourists, and Sri Lanka is looked at as a safe place to visit. And infrastructure-wise, also we've had good development, and of course, like I said, we could have a bit more development going forward. With also, we need to look at Sri Lanka as a good place to do business. Be it a hotel operator who wants to come and operate a hotel, or be it any major company in the world who would like to come and set up in Colombo or Sri Lanka. All these factors will do influence tourism. So once we have all these factors in place, which I believe is getting into place, I think our future looks good.
Thank you very much, Reyhan. It's been very interesting chatting with you on the tourism industry.
Thank you.
So some very interesting perspectives brought up by Reyhan Morris today, the CEO of CEO and Director of Asia Leisure. And on the other side, we have Anushan Selvaraja with more.
Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company is now the nation's largest and highest rated finance company with 2 international ratings. Let us move the nation as one with People's Leasing and Finance PLC. Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company is now the nation's largest and highest rated finance company with 2 international ratings. Let us move the nation as one with People's Leasing and Finance PLC.
We can show you a world, shining, shimmering, splendid, amazing, beautiful, dazzling, wondrous space for you and me. A whole new world, the future's got a whole new world for you.
The most advanced technology now on multiple smart devices for total convenience. Welcome to H&B New World Banking.
Welcome back to Benchmark. I'm Anushan Selvaraja. This week we thought we'd go a little bit more in depth into the budget. So we have invited economic analyst and product head for Frontier Research, Shiran Fernando. Welcome to the show, Shiran. Now, to start off with, what are the key areas of concern for corporates when it comes to budget 2016?
I think the key concern would be if you look at the corporate tax side of things, whether what areas will be taxed, will we see corporate tax rising, that scenario, and also what other components will they add, because the government does need revenue. I think that has been a key concern that has been raised since the interim budget in January. The IMF also has been calling for revenue. So the concern will be, where will this revenue come from? The hope is that this revenue does not affect business negatively the way that certain policies taken in January did. There won't be any negative investor sentiment impact on it. But I think there will be a bit of taxes put out on the businesses so that these revenues do come in. And maybe more even indirect taxes and maybe consumption related taxes. So the corporate sector, I think, is prepared and getting ready for this.
Do you view the shift towards direct taxes in a positive light, and how would this affect government revenue?
The economy, I think, has largely been dependent on these indirect taxes from your VAT and all your consumption things when you do. So there has to be a shift to direct taxes. But even if you look at corporate taxes, it accounts for about, I think, 7 to 8% of total revenue. Now say this is doubled or whatnot, it's only an increase of 70 billion. That against increases in current expenditure won't really do much. I mean, it'll help bring in more revenue, but it won't really bridge the deficit. So you have to look at other avenues for this direct taxes to come in without hurting business sentiment. I think that's the key thing. These taxes need to be looked at. I think the Minister of Finance and other policymakers have hinted that they're going to look at avenues which have not been previously looked at. Probably the informal sector. Maybe bring them into the formal arena. So that might be a good thing as well. They're recognized, and it also creates a level playing field for those in the formal sector. So direct taxes is the way to go. But I don't see this budget necessarily being suddenly wholesale, you find a 60% direct to 40%. I think incrementally it will change over time, but this budget needs to sort of put the steps in place so that direct taxes have a more emphasis.
Has there been enough engagement with the business community when formulating budget proposals?
Yes, I think this year there's been a lot of meetings that the Minister of Finance as well has had with a lot of the business community. I think a lot of the key industries, sectors have had chances to interact and provide their proposals, and well in advance as well. Last year, I think the budget was done a month earlier. It was done in October compared to November. So there was a bit of rush in terms of getting proposals in, thinking out certain things properly. And January as well, I think straight after the election on the 8th, you just had it within a couple of weeks. So now there's been time to think about it. So I think there has been more engagement time, obviously more time the better. But I think this year has seen a lot of interaction, and business leaders have also been a bit more vocal in terms of media and what they've been saying. So I think it has been quite good.
Thank you very much for joining us, Shiran.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was Shiran Fernando of Frontier Research. After a short commercial break, we will be back with the latest on the LMB TNS survey. Stay tuned.
When we entered the industry in 1995, a new star was born as a fully owned subsidiary of People's Bank. For those seeking to grow their businesses, PLC provided the seed. We are not only Sri Lanka's #1 leasing company, but also the largest non-banking financial institution. Welcome to a new dawn for the nation. Introducing People's Leasing and Finance, PLC.
We can show you a world, shining, shimmering, splendid, amazing, beautiful, dazzling, wondrous place for you and me. A whole new world, the future's got a whole new world for you.
The most advanced technology now on multiple smart devices for total convenience. Welcome to H&B New World Banking.
Thank you for staying with Benchmark. I'm Anushan Selvaraja. We're now going to take a closer look at the latest on the LMB TNS survey with the country manager of TNS Lanka, Mihirani Disanaika. Welcome back to the show, Mihirani. Now, to begin with, the latest TNS poll was conducted prior to the reading of the budget. So, what were the respondents expecting from budget 2016?
Huge expectation from the budget. More than 90% believe that this budget has to be people-friendly, business-friendly. Main concern and request from community of this country is to look after prices of goods of this country through the budget and take actions to reduce prices of goods as much as possible.
How did respondents react to the idea of businesses being taxed at a higher rate?
There are mixed opinions. While half of the sample that we contacted have said that businesses can be taxed at a higher rate, however, another 1/3 seems to be believing that idea, mainly because they believe that the smaller businesses will find difficult to afford high rates when it comes to taxes. So because of that, they don't believe that the business has to be taxed at a higher rate. Another 1/3 of the sample is not sure about the opinion that they have to.
Where do people stand in terms of the allocation of funds for education?
State funds allocation, the survey focused was to understand people's opinion about fund allocation for education specifically. Education being an important sector in Sri Lanka, obviously majority of people believe that the significant funds has to be allocated from the budget for education, and budget has to be more focusing in that area.
What are their thoughts on tax evasion or evaders as such?
I mean, obvious answer would be the expectation is for the government to take serious steps, critical steps to catch tax avoiders and stop that incidents in Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mihirani.
Thank you, Anushan.
That was the country manager of TNS Lanka, Mihirani Disanaika. Thank you for watching Benchmark, and we hope to see you again next time.